Okay, I hope you saw my screen. And since there are some the time is up, so we just start to today's training. Okay, so welcome to join this Keikai training. This is my outline. So I will give you a quick, short introduction about Keikai for those people who don't know Keikai before. And later I will show you a use case about how to protect formulas in Keikai. And I will also talk a related topic about user permissions with an example. And later we have a Q&A session. Okay, so let's give you a quick introduction about Keikai. For those who don't know Keikai, this is the web spreadsheet component. So you can build a spreadsheet-driven web application. So it's a Java web spreadsheet component. So you can easily integrate it with your Java EE web application into your web application, Java web application. So it has a very similar Excel user experience. Uh, and so in normal case, you can see on the right-hand side, you can embed into your page. So maybe there's an area that you use Keikai, but other areas you might use sidebar or other components. So we implement most commonly used Excel features in Keikai, like the forms, the colors, the formulas, and charts. And you can import your existing OpenXML format file, and the Keikai will render it in your browser. And we can export it, the file back into the OpenXML format, or you can export it into PDF. And we support over 200, even 50 Excel function in formula. And there's some key features like it can show you as a very Excel-like user interface. So when your end user start to use this kind of component in their browser, uh, they don't have to learn a large different. They have because this is very similar to Excel, so it's very for them to easy to learn. If they have experience for Excel, they can easy to pick up. So you can also turn your existing file. Maybe there are some business you run with your existing Excel file. You can easily import into Keikai and start using it. So the learning curve is very shallow. And the Excel-like functionality is like you can do it. Uh, you can edit cells, merge. You can reference cells, autofill like this, and insert, freeze, or sheet protection, toolbar formulas. And so since this is a component, so you can integrate into your Java web application. So you can host a web application in your server. So you don't expose those data from public, or you can control the permission by your own. And the next key feature is about integration. You can use the Keikai with ZK, with JSF or JSP. So it's easy to, since it's controlled by Java, so easy to integrate with any backend service like store into a database, or you just need to write a server-side controller, a Java class. So usually someone asks about how to uh, work with database. The easy answer, you can just export it as a file and store it as a binary object into your database. Or you can extract those cell data, and then you can implement your code to insert into columns of your table. And you can also reference the Spring Bean or Java Bean in your formula. And we provide three kinds of API to let you implement or integrate with your authentication, with your authorization mechanisms. I would show you an example today. So it's also customized. You can use CSS to customize the appearance. You can also create a custom formula by Java. We provide public Java API to let you manipulate cells, rows, columns, sheets, or style format. Almost everything in a in a sheet you can see. So you can integrate easily, integrate or interact with all ZK components. And it also support collaboration edit mode. So multiple user can edit the same sheet in the same times, and everyone can see the change uh, in their browser. So real time. Okay. So if you want to check the full list of the features, you can go to this KKIO features. There we have a comparison to list all these features. So you can check it later. Okay, then that's the introduction. So let's show, okay, let me open the next is about the user story. Okay, and the user story here is a user, the user is a financial professional, and he managed financial risk for his client. So he creates a tool, which the tool is based on the Excel file. So you will create some formulas in the Excel file, and he used this Excel file to analyze the risk of investment for his client. Also, he can forecast some market trend. So user have to provide some financial data, and he can enter into this Excel file, and he can get some analysis result, and they can explain the results to his clients, so they can evaluate investment. So it creates many valuable formulas in Excel file to help him do the jobs, and so this is a business secret. But he want to turn this Excel file into a web application and to serve more people. But he don't want to leak out these variable formulas because it's stored in Excel file. If he send the file to others, then others will see his formulas. So, and he want to turn to web application. So let's demonstrate this such kind of example. Surely I don't have the real formulas, so I don't have the financial formula. So I just demonstrate you with a very simple formulas. So for example, this is just imagine this is a vacation that you need to enter your financial data. For example, like this. Uh, So when you enter some data into this form, and then you will do some simple calculation or maybe a complex calculation, and then you will calculate the result for you. Surely that is just a very simple formulas because I don't. That's just a simulate case. But you show you that there is background image that assume that background has a complicated secret formulas. Just calculate this result for you, and someone can see this result and explain to you, or you can just see these results. So the whole process is simple, and you don't see any formulas. You just type the formulas. You just type your data in the first page, and then click the workflows, either simple workflow or complex workflow, and then it show you the result. So in the background, actually, the financial person still actually create those formulas in the background to calculate for it. So this is the user story, and so this is how it works. And so you can see the Keikai can support lots of formulas. So you can check a list here in our document, doc.keikai.io. You can check there's a list we support 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 different categories of formulas. Functions you can check here. If you want to use Keikai, you can check this function here to whether you the function you want to use is supported or not. If those functions you already support, you can just use Excel syntax without modifying. So it's very easy. Okay, and okay, next is about protect sheets and unlock cell. So to avoid user breaking the UI, so we usually will enable the protection. So you can see in these sheets, I also enable protection. If I try to do something, try to right click it or try to edit other irrelevant fields, irrelevant cell, it doesn't allow me. It will show me a protected cells warning. So what I can do is just type the here. Only these 5 cells are editable, so I can enter values. And other things I cannot do. I just can click, and there's no toolbar, nothing I can change. So because I enable the protection in this sheet. Okay. So this is and how do you do it? Either we provide an API, you can protect it dynamically, or in your sheet, you can just enable the protection and Keikai will read it, will load the protection. So you can see this is the original Excel file. It's created for this example. Uh, so I can just create a form with Excel, and there is a protection here. Uh, Here you can see it now is protected, so I can unprotect it. But if I enable protection in for these sheets, when I import into Keikai, you will also keep protection, keep protected. So, and how do I make those field editable? Actually, there is a setting in Excel. You also can set this by Keikai API. You can see there is a locked status. If you uncheck this, it becomes unlocked. For other cell, you can see its lock is checked. So if it's a locked cell, then when you enable protections, then it's read only. If it's unlocked, then when you enable the sheet protection, it's still uh, editable. So you can type, you can enter value in these cells. So this is how you can limit the editable areas in a sheet. So those settings, if you set in Excel, Keikai can read the setting. So as you configure in a sheet. So you can see I just set up these 5 cells are unlocked. So when I enable sheet protection in Keikai, you can see I cannot edit other cell, only these 5 cells I can edit. So, and then you can see here, I can control the page navigation. Okay, you can see because in a file, we actually have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sheets. Okay, but in the real application, you just see maybe just 3 sheets. For example, 1 sheet for input, 1 sheet for simple workflow, and another sheet for complex workflow. So actually what you can see is total in 3 sheets, but actually each time you just see 1 sheet, okay, in 1 sheet here. So that's because you can see in this page, you cannot see the sheet tab here. That's because I already hide the sheet tab. And so user cannot switch sheet arbitrarily. So the total sheet navigation is controlled by my system, by my call. So when user click this simple workflow, I will switch to the result, switch to this display, the simple workflow result or the simple workflow. Uh, this is for complex workflow. So user can, the page navigation is totally controlled by me. So it's very easy to control the page navigation. Just you create multiple sheets and you hide the sheet tabs, and you just control the sheet by using our API. So this is the whole case. In the code-wise, you can see here, this is the source code of this application. You can see you just use a spreadsheet and you can configure it by some attributes like width and height, and maximum column or rows. And I also hide the row head or column head. So there's no row head to look it. It will look more like a normal web page. And if you want to implement some business logic, you just create a controller, specify with apply attribute. So let's see the controller data composer here. So in this composer, you can see I start to protect all sheets. Here it's easy to protect sheets with an API. So you can protect sheet or unprotect sheets dynamically with this API. And you can build a sheet protection object with the builder-like pattern, like I allowed to select cells, allowed to select unlock cells, and I allowed to use auto view, something like this. So with this, because there are actually 14 different permission to set. So there are lots of permission. You don't have to set it one by one. So we have options for every permission like this. So when you protect the sheet, actually in Excel, we have almost 14 permission you can fine tune. So that means when it's protected, when the sheet is protected, those permission you allow user to do it, maybe to select, unlock or lock cell or even format cells. So we also have API to corresponding to those permission. So you can choose to, when you protect the sheet, which kind of permission you want to allow user to do it. So this is, first you need to create this object, and then you can pass it when you protect the sheet. So the workflow is very simple. When someone click a simple workflow button, actually it's a cell, so we can create a cell click listener on the spreadsheet. So I can check it's the sheet, it's the source sheet, and if you click the cell of the simple workflow, and I just switch to the simple display sheet. So it's controlled by the set selected sheet. I just select another sheet, and so this is how we implement the sheet navigation, or you say page navigation. Just select a different sheet, and because there's no sheet tab, so you can see in the browser there's no sheet tab, so user cannot change sheets. It's controlled by our system, so you can easily switch the page navigation. Uh, Okay, so this is the first example I want to show you. And another example is if you want there are some cases you want to protect formula in the same sheet. For example, you don't want user to switch to different sheets. There's also this case. So we use another Excel file. We import another Excel file, which will transfer in file here. You can see if I switch to a different sheet, here we have some data. You can import some data, and the result is automatically is immediately shown here because here we have a formula. We enter formula here, so we will calculate result directly. But if you don't want a user to see the formula because we want to protect it, so we need to hide those UI. So you can see this is the file for transforming info in file. I can disable this. I can show toolbar. I can remove it, show toolbar context and remove it, and show the toolbar formula bar. I remove it. Also, the default is false. So if after I remove this and I reload this page, oh, okay, there's a one quotes. So in this page, you can see there's no toolbar. I can click here. So when I click here, actually this is also a protected sheet. So the only those cells with red background, I can modify those cells here. The other cells are also protected, so I cannot destroy the UI. I can there's even no context menu in the sheet tab, so I can even delete the sheets. So you can see if I click these green background cells, I don't see the formulas. I cannot even edit it. So the formula, even the financial profession, he just enters some formulas here. This is secret formulas, but user cannot see because it's protected and you cannot edit. There's no toolbar, formula bar. So this is another case that you can just hide formula in the same sheet and user just can type data here and can see the result. The benefit is that user can see the result immediately and you can change the value here and see the result without switching to different sheets. So it's more responsive. So this is another case that you can protect your formula in the same sheet. Okay, so this is two cases. You can protect formulas in your file in Keikai. So the benefit is the financial profession. They can still modify some formula from time to time because the environment changed, some factors change, so we can still enter into open this file to change the formulas to according to the environment, to the context. Maybe there's something change like COVID-19. So he need to change his formula to forecast to give a different analysis. But in this process, we don't need to change our Java code because there's nothing related to Java code. He just changed his formula by himself. Then the Keikai is doing the same thing. He just import a file, and so we don't. There's no need an engineer to change his code to re-implement something to change the formulas. So it's easy to change. And there's no danger of leaking formulas. So because user don't know, he cannot get the file and just see it in his browser. And when the background, when someone changed the formula, you can see the different results. So this is the benefits if we implement like this. Okay. So the next one is about user permissions. There's an example in our demos. So you can see here, okay. Because then I think every company or every institute has its own authorization mechanism. So in Keikai, we don't have a built-in authorization. So there's no way to have authentication because everyone needs a different way. So it's impossible to create authentication or authorization mechanism to fit every company's policy. So instead of that, we provide 3 kinds of API to let you implement or let you integrate by yourself to implement your permission mechanism. So the first API is to control the UI. You can see this toolbar, or you can see I just changed some attribute in the Azure to make the toolbar invisible. So the toolbar, the formula bar, the sheet tabs, the sheet context menu, or the context menu in the sheet is also configurable and also can be controlled by Java API dynamically. So this is the first kind of API. And the second kind of API is you can see these actions. You can disable these features in 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 these menus, or even these actions, you can disable this some of these buttons. So this is second kind of API too. You can disable some features. And there are third kind of APIs too. You can enable the sheet protection. You can see there is a we provide API to enable the sheet protection, and you don't need to invoke this dialog. So you can enable protection with Java API, and there are lots of options you can choose to allow user to do it, to do some actions under sheet protection. So there are also API to let you do it. So there are allow with these three kinds of API, you can implement your own permission mechanism. So this is in this example, just we implement a simple demo example. For example, there are three roles. The first role is owner, the second role is editor, the third role is viewer. The owner can do everything. You can see all operation allowed. So you can do everything here, just like edit. Uh, so there's nothing to introduce. The second one is the editor. The editor can read and edit, but cannot add or remove sheets. It cannot do sheet operation. So you can see with I see you can edit. I see you can use the toolbar. Then there's the right context menu and here. But you can see here all the features here are great. That means they are disabled. So I cannot do any sheet related operation like remove or delete sheets or move sheets or hide sheets. This the editor cannot do it. So this is second row. The third row is the viewer. So you can see there's no toolbar now. And when I right click here, there is a no context menu. And here, that all things are disabled. So you can see in the viewer, when I edit anything, it shows the warning. So the viewer can just view. He cannot do any edit operations. So this is just a simple example that you can rely on our API to implement your authorization uh, permission control. You can have a different permission control or different role that you can rely on our API to implement yours. So let's quickly see there are different API here. For example, you can disable user action like add sheet. So disable user action. So if you disable that, user cannot add a sheet. So there's a set show toolbar. So you can set show toolbar to with true or false to make it show or false, make it be visible or invisible. And there's a protect sheet API to let you protect a sheet to enable it or disable dynamically. So with these three kinds of API, you can implement your permission. Okay. So this is about the user permission example. And all the example we talked today here is the user permission. You can check the example, the source code here. This is the source code. And the previous example here for the transform, you can check in the GitHub. So the contains the whole source code of the first example, and you can also check there are other use case or other example that tell you how to use Keikai. Okay, and okay. So this is today's what I introduced you about Keikai. So do you have any question? Welcome to show you use case, and I can show you how to implement with Keikai. Maybe just quickly describe how to do it. If you want more, then you can send me more details. We can even create a proof of concept prototype for you. You can open your microphone and speak out your questions, or if you think typing is more clear, you can just type in the chat. Okay, someone say, can I add a note to a cell? Yes, there is a way to add the notes. I think the note you mean is sometimes like comment. I'm not sure, but I think the note we have a feature we call comment here. So you can see there's a insert comments. For example, there's a comments. Okay, so there's a comment. So I'm not sure this is the note you mean, but we have a similar feature, comments. So is there any questions? Other? How to set Java Inval directly to Excel cells? Okay, there is a document we mentioned here on reference to Java Bean. Yeah. So we support something like EL expression. So you have to use implement the variable resolver. And so you can use something like EL expression like this, mybean, use function, sorry, a formula syntax with mybean.myProperties. So the mybean, usually this will be a cell address, but if you create a variable resolver, the Keikai will resolve this as a variable name with your variable resolver, and you must return a Java object like this. If you like this example, if you create a Java object called assets beans, so you will resolve to your assets bean, and you should provide a setter and provide a getter, a setter and getter for liquid assets. So I can show you I think I can show you the code, the example code. Wait for a moment. Java bean. Okay, so this is roughly how you create a reference Java bean. This is the This is the example here. So you create a composer, a Java bean, and there's a bean resolver. This is how we call the variable resolver. So in this variable resolver, you just resolve with name. So the name is the um, the name you type in the formula. So the formula will, if you type asset bint, so there's a my bean service I implement by myself. Um, so this by bean service will check. Oh, okay, you will get my beans. Uh, and if there's a call my beans with this name, that you will set with SS beans. Okay, so this is the name you should type in your formula, mybean, and you will return the SS bin. The SS bin is just your domain object. It could be person, could be car, could be anything. So this contains the data. Maybe you query from your database, or you query from other data source, and you construct a bin here, and you provide getter and setter here. So when someone requests a bin, then it will through this variable resolver, and you should implement this and should return a Java objects, and you can use in your uh, in your Excel file. So in your Excel file, there should be a bin Excel file, bin here. So in the bin, you can see there's a my bin. Maybe I need to zoom in. Sure that this bin is meaningless in Excel. So you can see this is the formula is mybin.liquid assets. So mybin.fund investment. So there are getters for my investment. So you can see the asset being there are liquid assets or fund investment. Okay. So this is how you can access the Java bean directly. So this only works in Keikai, and surely it does not work in Excel because Excel doesn't support this. So am I clear? Yes. Currently there is no way to, since the syntax limitation of the formula, the only way to render a list from the Java bean is um, to implement with Java code. So it's not easy to render a list. If you create a Java function, custom function, it can just return a value. For example, you create a special function to calculate with a special custom formulas, but you just can return a number or value. If you want to return a list of value and to insert into a list of cells, you have to implement Java API. So that's the current limitation. You just can use you cannot use a formula. You have to use Java API to insert a list of value into cells. How to store data into database? Someone asked about how to store data in database and what is data formats. Okay, let me show you the work with database demo. Okay, this is a demo about work with database. So you can see here, there are two ways to save data from Keikai. First is to export to Excel file. So the most common way is to export the whole content, the complete content into an OpenXML file, but it's a binary file. So you have to store the file into a BLOB, the binary large object field in the table. So you store the whole file into the table, and later you get it from database and import back to Keikai. The benefit is it will store the complete information in in the Keikai, and so you can restore it back completely. So, but the drawback is that you cannot query the content of the file. So if there is some data inside cells you want to query with SQL, that is impossible. So the alternative is you can, when you export to Excel file, you can also store some metadata like author version or some keywords you store with this file, and these keywords or some metadata can be queried by SQL. So this is the first way. And the second way is you can store cell data. So you just don't export into Excel file, you just extract concern data or formulas or result by getter. So you have to implement your own controller, and with our range getter, and you can get cell from Keikai, and then you just insert into your table of your database. Since we don't know which range you concern and which table you want to insert, so you need to implement by yourself this part. And so it depends on you to determine the data format. So you can get a number and store it into a different database, or you can get a string and convert into uh, a number. So it depends on you. So you must call range getter API to extract those sales data or cell format or anything you interest and store into your database. So this is the second way. The second way, the benefits that it stores just, I think it usually consume less memory, less space, because just store some data instead of a whole file, and it can query because you store the data into your database as the data is not a binary, so you can just query with SQL easily, but sure that it doesn't store the complete information. So usually the use case is you will import a template file. The template file might contain some background colors, like this charts maybe it already contains some background color or some headers, and then you insert data from the database. So actually, in this case, if you can see, let me show you the original file here. The original file in Excel it looked like this. So you can see it looked like this. This is the original file we import into Keikai. You can see all fields are 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. I just have some formula here. So this is just like a template. Yeah, it doesn't contain data, it just contains some format like background or some charts that link to this data source, and everything is empty. So when we import into Keikai, we query the database and get the data and insert into the corresponding cells. So this is the result. Okay. So in these examples, we can add, for example, I can add the new records. Here's unit cost 300 like this. So when I click done, it will save into database, and then I will query again and show the result here. So this is the second way. You just extract the concerned data and save into database, and later you just import a template file with empty cell, and then you query data and insert here. This is a normal use case. Okay, so do I answer your question? So ZK year. Okay. So is there any other question? You can open your microphone to speak out your questions, or you can type chat in chat channel uh, to raise your questions. Welcome to have any question about Keikai. Um, we have different use case here. If you are interested, I can show you since we have some time. Mhm. Okay, then I can just show you some other demos like there's an integration. Um, just like I say, the Keikai can work seamlessly with ZK other components. So you can see in these demos, here we have a Keikai here, and there's a ZK chart, which is another component of ZK, and here we have Gmap, is also a component of ZK. So in this page, there are 3 different components. And there are actions you can see when I click the Arizona, in Gmap, you will jump to Arizona. And if I click Colorado, you will jump to Colorado. So this is the the first integration about the relation between the Keikai and the GMap. And the second is there is a number of cases here. And this chart basically is penned based on these cases. There's a summary of cases here. New England, actually this is a summary. There's a formula that summed all the cases here. So this is a data source. So I can change one of them. For example, Illinois is most, I just change it to 20. So you can see the pie charts re-render again. So you can see the green part, the east and north center becomes smaller. So if you make it larger, for example, 200s, you can see the green part become larger. So that's because I listen to sale click events and update the data model of charts. So you will force it to re-render. So these three components actually are interactive. Uh, so I can change some listen event to Keikais and change integrate with other component. So from the code level, you can see we can apply a controller in Keikai in Azure, so we can easily get those component reference here by wire annotation. So I will get a component reference of spreadsheet, Keikai spreadsheet here, and I'll get a reference of GMap, get a reference of charts. So because the Keikai is based on ZK, is supports MVC patterns. So the controller use the component API to control it. So first I get this reference of the variables of the components, and later I can control it by calling this API. The programming model is event driven. So I first need to listen to an event like sale focus on the flu spreadsheet. That means the flu spreadsheet is the ID of the spreadsheet. So we can see here we have an ID flu spreadsheet, and there's a flu chart and a flu map. So every component specified with the ID. I can wire with this ID. So ID match the variable name, and ZK will automatically wire the component reference to your variable here. So you can see use any I don't use any new statement. Uh, the ZK will inject the variable composer for me. Okay, so here the flow spreadsheet. So for the first feature, I listen to on sale focus and I control it with API. For example, I get its coordinations, and I set its coordination with the GMap API to set uh, these coordination here, and I set open to truth. So I close other gmarker and I open the gmarker for this coordination. So when I click the focus, I will get the coordination for the state, and I open the corresponding mark, gmark for the state. So you can see here, there's a coordination here. So I get this field and I set to gmark and I open it. So this is how I can, you can see we can get cell value from the Keikai and interact with other. So you can see the range with, there's a range API to create a range object with the sheet, row index, and color index, and call get cell edit text to get the text. And another is that when I unstop editing means I finish my edits to a cells and I try to parse the data, and I force the chart to update. Okay, so they will cause the chart to re-render it. So this also through the zk's API to control. So it's easy to integrate with other ZK component, which is just pure Java API. So this is a case. And there's also a collaboration edit mode here. So when you see in this page, we have two windows, but actually we just, for convenience, we just present in the same page, but actually you can imagine that there are two person, one is Steve, one is Jimmy, and they are using their own computer with their own browsers. So the Steve just visit one page here and see there's a room reservation form sheet. Okay, and he can type his name. Oh, sorry, this is Steve. Type his name to reserve a room. So you can see Steve immediately appear here. So if I reserve many rooms here, many room. So you can see Jimmy also can see this in Steve name appear. So Jimmy can also reserve room. So you can see both persons can see the result immediately when someone else edit. And you can see there's the blue box here is my focus and the green box is Jimmy. So in Jimmy, you can see the blue box is he himself, and if I were Jimmy, I'm blue box, and Steve is orange box. So this is a collaboration mode, collaboration. So you don't, if you want a file to be edited by multiple person, you don't need to send it to a person or to multiple person and wait them to send it back. Just everyone log into their browser and edit the file, and you can see someone else is editing, so you will avoid the conflict. So Jimmy is editing these cells. I think I need to avoid to edit the same cell, or I will override his result. For example, I just type something here. Okay, that I will override it. And so for the controller, this is not a default behavior when you initiate Keikai. So you need to write a little bit setup code here with Java to set its share scope to a vacation. So yeah, when you import a file, actually you will convert this OpenXML format file into a book object. This is a book object that Keikai implements. So it's the internal data model we stored in Keikai. So when you change something in the browser, actually it's not change the content of the file. It actually changed the book object in the memory. So it's still is not until you exported your book object into a XML, open XML file, into an Excel file, then you will save and override these file. And you can also choose to override or create a new file. So it depends on you. It does not always override the same file. You have to write your own. Uh, it depends on you. So when you import a book here, if you want to collaborate with others, you can just set the book to another component. So component, spreadsheet components look like container. If you it can, if it does not contain a book, it just show a blank, empty component. If you assign it a book, then it will render the content of the book objects to you. So you can assign a different book, just like load another book into it. So the both component, if you assign them into the same book object and set it to a share scope bigger, like a vacation scope, then that means they are collaborate together to edit the same book object. Okay, so this is another example. So does anyone has any question? Okay, so if no one has more other questions, so I think we can end this training today for now. So thank you for joining this training. We'll see you next time. Just follow us to watch us if we have the next training, or if you have any comments, you can email us, contact with us. So thank you. Thank you for joining.